Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for sticking with me through that break. If you were just tuning in, we have talked about a lot of March Madness. We also went and talked about the big backup quarterback moves with the Steelers, trading Kenny Pickett, and trading for Justin Fields. In this segment, we are going to talk about the Vikings offseason. The Vikings have had a really interesting offseason. It's been one where really this draft kind of will indicate how good it is. And I know how that's how it is for a lot of teams, but the Vikings had a really sneaky good free agency. They went and got Aaron Jones on a cheap contract. Aaron Jones, who I still think is an elite running back in the NFL if he can stay healthy. They kept Justin Jefferson around. I know they lost Kirk Cousins, but they traded up and got a second first round pick, and they might be getting another one from the Falcons for tampering. It might not be this year, but they might be getting another first round pick from the Falcons for tampering. So we're looking at least two first round picks and a team that is missing a quarterback. Now, there's been a lot of rumors around the Vikings in their draft. Sorry. But before we get into all of that, we'll talk about more of the Vikings. Remember that if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to GSMCpodcast.net. Leave a link, leave a donation, leave a little comment. It'll pop up at the bottom of the screen. We will have a discussion about what you had to say for me, you, and everyone else in the world to see. Again, that link to leave a tip or donation is gsmcpodcast.net. We appreciate anything that you do give. But like I was talking about with the Vikings, they have a very interesting spot to be in because they have a guy in Sam Darnold who is competent at quarterback. And with an offensive line like they have, and wide receiver weapons like they have, and now bringing in Aaron Jones, that offense is really, really skilled. And I think Sam Darnold can do a lot with that offense. Not enough to be serious contenders, but enough to maybe make a wild card in the NFC. The NFC is not a very strong conference. I think they can lock in if they get a quarterback. They have 2 first-round picks to play with. Say you trade up to... And this has been the real question, because I am personally not a fan of J.J. McCarthy, but I know a lot of people are, and he's getting top 10 buzz. If you're the Vikings and you package those first-round picks to move up to, say, 6 with the Giants, or say, I don't know, I think that's the one that makes the most sense if you're trading, because I think if J.J. McCarthy falls to 12, that's where he's going, to the Broncos at 12. So you need to trade up ahead of them. Maybe not all the way to 6, but you might be able to trade up to like 10 with whoever's there. The Bears are at 9. I don't think you're going to want to make the Bears are going to want to make a trade there. But the Vikings have a very interesting decision to make with Sam Darnold, who right now is the starting quarterback on the roster. We saw what they did with all their starters last year. They were still winning games. And I think really if you get a quarterback that won't turn the ball over 3 times, they win 4 more games. Not 4. They win 2 more games than they did last year, and I think they're in the playoffs then. Because what their quarterbacks were doing last year, especially down the stretch of the season, was throwing for 500 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions every single game. And you're not going to win a game like that. So they needed to go out and make some changes, and they did. Now, I'm sure they wanted Kirk Cousins back because when he was on their team, they were pretty firmly in the playoffs, and they probably definitely would have made the playoffs if he was healthy all season. They beat the 49ers with him for... They're a very good team. They're close. They have a lot of the pieces. But the dilemma is, do you just roll with Sam Darnold for 1 year and use your 2 draft picks to really bulk up that defense that is not very good right now? They're losing a lot of their key pieces. Their pass rush is basically completely gone. So do you move up and get those guys? Do you get a quarterback, or do you build up a defense and live with Sam Darnold? Sam Darnold, who's going to make your team probably 9-8, maybe 8 and 9, somewhere in that range. 9 and 8, 8 and 9, 10 and 6. There's 10 and 7. Excuse me. Uh, I'm very interested to see what the Vikings do there because, like I said, that offense is so talented, and the defense just has so many holes. They really don't have a pass rush anymore. They brought back Harrison Smith. They brought back and they're letting everyone else walk basically. They have a young corner core uh, that played okay last season. There wasn't anything special, but they played okay. Linebackers really stood out. They got their guy from Cincinnati who Ivan Pace, excuse me, I was blanking on his name. Ivan Pace was really, really good last season. He was a game changer in the middle. He really, really elevated that defense, and he's on a rookie deal. He'll be there for a little bit. But they didn't really make a lot of moves to fix that defense. So it makes you wonder what exactly they're doing. I thought they've had a really, really solid offseason so far. But I personally, if I was a Viking fan, would be scared that they're going to trade away 2 first-round picks for J.J. McCarthy. And I know a lot of people have a lot of other feelings about that. And there's been plenty of discussions ad nauseum about J.J. McCarthy and his draft status, how he just kind of came out of nowhere. And there's always a guy like this. Every single year they warn us, there's a guy that comes out of nowhere. It was J.J. McCarthy this year. He's not a top 10 pick. He's not a first-round pick. He was never getting first-round buzz until he won the national championship. So he shouldn't be a first-round pick. That's the thing with the NFL draft. A lot of these guys get a lot of buzz, and that's why people get it wrong sometimes. And the public can really go with it, and I'm guilty of doing this too, But, no one is just going to come out of nowhere. They have to have this buzz during the season, during the college football season. They can't just win one game and then automatically shoot up boards. It can happen. There's always exceptions to the rule. There always is. There's not a single rule without exception. But J.J. McCarthy is not that guy. He isn't. He just doesn't do anything special. Not at the NFL level. He's going to get murdered up there. And the team that wastes a first-round pick on him is going to regret it. The Vikings might do that. The Giants might do that. The Raiders and the Broncos might do that. There's a lot of minefields in the draft. You don't want to be that team. Honestly, there's a lot of quarterbacks that take ahead of him, and you can get those quarterbacks in the second round. If I'm a team that needs a quarterback but isn't drafting in the top 3, what I'm doing is waiting for the second round to get that second group of quarterbacks. Michael Penix in the second round I think would be a great pick for any team. My dream draft as a Giants fan is Malik Neighbors 6. And then in the second round, when we come back at 6 there, Michael Penix. You get some guys, but that's probably not going to happen. Anyway, that was a pipe dream. The Vikings trading for that second first-round pick, I think that was a really, really great move of them. Giving up 2 seconds is a lot, but to trade back into the first round, you can get that value back. You can absolutely make it up. The Vikings, I think, did a very smart thing doing that, but it put them in this conversation to trade up into that maybe even top 3, which would be ridiculous, I think, for a team to do it. But it wouldn't be the first time we saw something like that. You go back down to from 3 to 11 and you get 23. It's not a bad place to be. It really isn't. For a team like maybe they target the Patriots, maybe they want one of those top 3 guys. If they can get it for 2 firsts, go for it. I think that would be huge for them. So there's a lot of things for them to do. They could do so much in this draft, and I'm very excited to see what they do. They're the team that I'm watching the most for the rest of this offseason. I've loved what the Bears have done. They've had probably my favorite offseason so far, but the Vikings are the one that I think are the most interesting right now, especially with those 2 first-round picks. I'd love to hear all your guys' thoughts on this. Your bracket, who you have winning. your take on the state of the backup quarterback in the NFL, and anything else that you heard in this show that you wanted to say. I appreciate everybody so much for tuning in to today's episode of Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. We will be back here tomorrow, same time, same place. More March Madness coverage all week. It's going to be the big story. Make your bracket, win it. You got it. I believe in all of you guys. We will be back tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great.